Okay, this should be the very last video, I'm hoping. All right, so question number 50, if the sequencer was arithmetic. So if the sequencer was arithmetic, remember the way you read this, and that this is the early term, this is the later term. All right, so the later term, early term. To find your common difference, it is the later term minus the early term, and then you divide that by the increase. Or I also label this the jumps too. All right, so the later term is 911 minus 699. I'm going to get a number, and I'm going to divide that number by, well, let's see, 12 and 16. I'm going to divide that number by 4. Okay, that's how I get 53. Now, if this was geometric, that's when you find your R. So in this case, now you take the later term, divide it by the early term, and when you do that, you're going to get a number, and then you're going to take the root. Let's see, that's the 12 and 16. You're going to take, in this case, what is the fourth root of your answer to get your overall ratio. So if you need to see this, so the later term, let's see, that's 911 divided by 699. You get an ugly decimal, but it's okay. This is the fourth root, so hit 4. And then you're going to go to second, this button right here, and then you're going to do second answer, and there we go, 1.068, which rounds to 1.07. All right, so answer the following questions. So we've got to create a closed form formula. I notice that I'm decreasing by 37 every single time, minus 37, minus 37, minus 37, so on and so forth. So my common difference is negative 37. My first term, a of 1, is 958. So my formula is something plus something n minus 1. Remember, this is your first term. This is your common difference. Okay? So my first term is literally my first term, 958. All right? My common difference is negative 37. Now you might be saying, well, there's a plus and there's a negative. Well, that's true, but when you simplify it, it kind of works its way out. So take negative 37, throw it in there, or distribute 958. Let's see, negative 37n, that gives you negative 37n. Negative 37 times negative 1 is plus 37. Okay? Then you combine these two, and you get 995 minus 37n. There's my answer. Now it says find the 116th term of the sequence. Take 116, plug it in for n, and you get your answer there. So if you need to see it, 995 minus 37 times 116. And there you go. All right. Let's see, 52. How many students are represented in this histogram? All right, go through each bar, and you notice that there's one student that had a 40 on their test score, 4 students that had I believe that's a 60, 2 students that had a 73, that 84 had 90, and then 100. Just add them all up, you get 15. Now, how many students have grades 60 to 70? All right, so I'm sorry, 60 to 80. So 60 to 80, that's that column, and that column. 4, 2, 3. Add it up, gives you 9. What percentage of students have grades 80 through 90? So 80 through 90 would be these two columns. All right. So I'm looking for the percentage. So that is a percentage of what I want over the total. What I want to know is how many students had grade 80 to 90. That's 7 divided by 15. All right, so I know you can pretty much do this, but I'm going to show it to you anyway. 7 divided by 15, and then I want to times by 100. That moves the decimal. There you go, 47%. All right. Now, what is the mean? This is the average. Okay, so what I have is 140. So I have one student making a 40, so that's 40 plus. I have 4 students making 60s. 4 times 60. I have 2 students making 70s, plus 2 times 70, plus I have 3 students making 80s. That's 3 times 80. I have 4 students making 90s. And then lastly, I have one student making 100. Enter. And I'm going to take that number and divide it by how many students I have, which in this case was 15. And rounded, I get 75. All right. Now, find the 5-number summary. Now, what I did was I went ahead and made a list of what my histogram said. So, like, one person made a 40. There it is. 4 people made a 60. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. Now, I went ahead and marked this, but I'm going to show it to you anyway. So, starting with my smallest number, which is the minimum, and my maximum, which is my largest number, work my way in. Oh, there it is. 80 is my median. Okay. Now, what this does, it separates everything that's on the right, everything to the left. All right. So, when I find my lower quartile, I do not start with this 80. I now start with the 70. This 80 is now out of bounds. 70 and 40 work my way in. Oh, there it is. There's my lower quartile. There's my LQ. My upper quartile, same exact thing. Starting with this 80 here, because again, remember that 80 is out of bounds. Move in, move in, move in. Up, there it is. There's my upper quartile. So what I have here is my minimum, I have my median, and I have my maximum. All right. These are the 5 numbers in which you're going to make your box plot. So my maximum was 100, put a line there. My upper quartile was 90, put a line there. My median was 80, put a line there. My lower quartile was 60, put a little line there, create your box. And then lastly, my minimum, I'll put a line there. So it whiskers out to my minimum and maximum. All right. All right, scatter plot, and I have got to find myself a line. So what I'm looking for is y is equal to something, x plus something. That's the formula I'm going to use. Now remember, this right here is your y-intercept. This right here is your slope. Now first off, the y-intercept, super easy. Literally, here's the y-axis. Where does the big black line go to the y-axis? Right there. At 100. So I'm going to put 100 right here. Alright. Now I'm also going to use this point. This point is, we'll write right here, 0, 100. Now I need that point because I got to find my slope. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to now trace my line to see if I can find a spot where the line goes exactly, oh, look at that. It goes exactly through the grid right here. Perfect. That's 15,300. I'm going to use 15,300. These are my 2 points I'm going to use to find my slope. Now my slope formula is, I'll just write it right here, y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. Now when you label, that's x1, this is y1, this is x2, this is y2. So I'm just going to take these numbers, plug them in there. So y2 goes in the upper left. I guess I got to write it right here. 300 minus 100 over 15 minus 0. That gives me 200 over 15. Alright, so 200 divided by 15, 13.3. So my slope will be 13.3. There's my answer. Alright. Now it says, if the temperature reached 35 degrees Celsius, how much would it cost? Now, first off, you know you're going to have to plug 35 in somewhere. It's either going to be plugged in for X or plugged in for Y. To determine which one it is, all you have to do is look, okay, let's see, Celsius, temperature, it's on the X-axis. So I'm going to take 35, plug it in for X. So Y is equal to 13.3, parenthesis, 35 plus 100, get my answer. Now it says if the cost was $900. Now 900 is on the Y. So that means 900 is going to go in for Y and you got to solve for X. So 900 is equal to 13.3x plus 100. So I'm going to subtract 100. That gives me 800 is equal to 13.3x. I divide by 13.3. I'm sure I'm going to get a decimal just by looking at it. divided by 13.3. Yep, 60. Just rounded to the nearest whole. And of course, the final will tell you how to round. All right, next one. 8,000 people were surveyed on which car they preferred. Participants could either vote one way or one car for both. Here's the results. All right, so 50% voted for Honda, 70% voted for, 50% voted for Toyota, 70% voted for Honda. All right, now I know I already did all this. All right, so pretend like it's not here. All right, I know it's going to be kind of difficult. The first thing you're going to do is you're going to put 50% voted for Toyota. So you're going to make this Toyota line right here, and remember to shade down. Now, I'll be honest with you folks, if you're not shading, it's very difficult to see what is Toyota only as opposed to what is the Honda only. All right. So the next thing is 70% voted for Honda. So I'm going to draw this 70% line, which is right here. See, 0 to 70. And then I'm going to now color it this way. Now, don't forget your labels. Honda, I made a horizontal line. Toyota, I shaded with a vertical line. All right, so once you've labeled everything, then you're going to take your percentages and use them as your dimensions. So, like for example, this right here, 0 to 50, that will have a height of 50, which means this mark to this mark will be another height of 50. All right, so 50, 50. Now I always like mirroring it on the other side. That's 50, 52. 0 to 70, that's 70 degrees or 70 width. That mark to 100 is 30. And we're just going to mirror it up here. Now from here, I'm just going to go ahead and find my area. So starting with the both, that's a 50 by 70. That's 3,500. That's a 50 by 70. That's also a 3,500 area. 30, 50. That's 1,500. 30, 50. That's another 1,500. All right. Now, the way that this question is presented is a little different than what you guys have been used to. Usually you have like a couple of lines helping you out. But it says, using the area model, find how many people vote for each. So you're actually going to have to do a couple things at once. So I'm just going to focus on my both, because that's the easiest one to understand. That is 3,500. So I got to do two things. I have to find the percentage first. That's the first thing I got to do. And then I got to figure out how many people. All right. So to find the percentage, what I want is 3,500, because that's the both category. And I'm going to divide that by 10,000. Now you might be saying, where do I get 10,000? That's what the entire model of the area of the entire model. All right. So I get 35%. So 35% were both. So 35% of 8,000. So off to the side, 35%, which is 0.35 when I multiply it times 8,000. I don't know why I did times 8,000. 2,800. All right. Now, you do the same thing again, again, and again. So like the neither category, that's 1,200. Now, how did I get 1,200? Notice, neither has 1,500. So that means to convert that to a percentage, that's 1,500 divided by 1,000. And I get 15%. So 15% of 8,000 were neither. So now off to the side, 0.15 times 8,000. That's how I get 1,200. And you do the same thing for the Honda only and the Toyota only box. All right. Now this little throwaway question here says, what was the probability that someone wanted Honda only? Well, you already did it right here. Honda only was 35%, because you would have already figured that out. But let's say if you didn't for some odd reason. What I want is Honda. So the percentage, what I want is Honda, which is 3,500, over 10,000, which is the entire model. That gives me 35%. There you go. All right. So that's the review. Hopefully this answers all your questions. Let me know if you have any more. Thank you for watching.